This demonstration is set up to show how you can leverage Rumfox with other Excel add-ins. In this example, we're going to use an add-in called Solver. Solver is a common what-if analytical tool that allows you to solve linear programming problems within Excel. The model itself, or the pivot table, is made up of accounts, scenario, time, plants, and warehouses. And the best way to understand the business problem we're about to solve is really to look at a view that we set up. The goal is to minimize cost of shipping goods from the different plants to the different warehouses, as you can see in this cell right here. Before we do that, let's look over here at what if 2. It's blank right in there, and what we want to do is copy the data from what if 1 to the other scenario. This way we can run different pricing scenarios and compare the cost between the two scenarios. So we'll go over, we'll grab what if 1, we'll copy it to what if 2, we'll copy the data over. Now that we copied it over, let's look at the view. We're looking at what if 1, let's look at what if 2. It has the same data now. So let's open up the Rumfox Solver panel and let's load a prior scenario that we set up specific for this view. Let's open that up. And what we'll see as the objective here is how do we minimize I-26, which is the actual warehouse cost across all data warehouses. So now that we know our objective, we want to do that by changing, and we can just open up these areas in the panel to show you, by changing the shipments themselves, as you can see here with all ones in here, and then constraining it by what? Shipments and how much warehouse demand there is, etc., etc. So you kind of get the feel of how you set up the linear programming constraint within the solver technology. Boom. Another constraint here, as you can see, the shipments themselves can't be more than what's supplied by the warehouse. Again, that's how the solver constraints are set up. Let's solve for the problem here, and we found a solution. Let's actually accept that solution. Therefore, to get the $34.70, which is the minimum cost here, we would leverage the different plants and the warehouses with these cost constraints to get to this minimum. So now, let's jump over to what if 2, which had the same scenario as what if 1, but let's go in and modify the cost structure. So let's start putting in different types of costs here, envisioning a different type of scenario given what we were just running on what if scenario 1. So let's change some of these cost structures and write that back to the database. Open up Solver again. Now, applying the same solver setup against a different what if scenario. Solving this, we found a solution. Say OK, and we close it. And now let's take this just one step further and open up a different report that we set up called the solver variance. And now we're looking at both what if scenarios against each other, scenario 1 versus scenario 2, and seeing the variances between the two what ifs.